by making Cavill this guy again. Yo, and welcome to another episode of With Enough Prep Time. I'm your host, the Nerd Man, and today we will be discussing Shazam: Fury of the Gods, which I just came back from. I'm going to go over a little synopsis of what the film is about, but I just wanted to welcome my guest here, K-Dots, who is going to be discussing with me or asking me questions to maybe help me fill out exactly what I thought about the movie. How are you doing, brother?
I am currently doing great. Just to make it clear to everybody, I have not seen the film, but I will ask Nerdman questions from the perspective of someone who has not seen the film yet. I haven't seen it. I'll be watching it tomorrow. See, these you Nerdman, you UK people are lucky because you get to watch some of these movies before us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not completely jealous. Not completely jealous. I'm jealous, but not completely jealous.
Well, I mean, essentially the Czech Republic, but yeah, like we got to see some of these movies a little bit earlier. But it was only unlimited. And first things first to say, like they don't do it in IMAX here. I went and I tried to get IMAX tickets. I bought 6 tickets because I'm a true DC fan, and I was like, this film's going to be great. I know it's going to be great. And I ended up giving away some of those tickets, and the person somehow saw me, like, because I put it in an envelope and like just wrote, free tickets to the cinema, and I put it on the a table or whatever, and I bought 3 for Saturday and then 2 for today. And then 1 for myself.
I got 1 ticket for tomorrow, and I'll be watching again Thursday. I'm seeing it both in IMAX laser.
So. And yeah, so basically, the guy who
they didn't have it in
the 2 tickets ended up just sitting right behind me, and he looked at me like for a little bit, and he was like, "Oh, were you the guy who gave us these free tickets?" And I was like, yeah, and he was like, "Oh man, thanks, man, like that's so cool," and then gave me a gin and tonic to drink with it, or a gin and tonic drink or whatever, and he was like, "Oh, that's the least I can do. It's really cool." And then he ended up really loving the movie at the end of it, which was cool. So, basic synopsis of this movie. The Daughters of Atlas are the main villains of this movie.
Just to add to it so everyone knows, these are original villains. These are not villains. They might be inspired by some comic villains, but there are not any villains from any Shazam comics that we have seen before. They might join some comics after this movie, depending on the success, same as how Harley Quinn became a character in the comics after the animated series.
Yeah, and so they're played by Lucy Liu, Helen Mirren, and Rachel Ziegler. And their thing is that the Shazam powers that were given to Shazam were actually stolen from the gods.
Right.
And they, it actually ended up killing their world essentially by taking all the magic and whatever from their world, and this is what the wizard did, and they want revenge for that essentially. So it's a pretty simple, pretty basic kind of premise there. But
question real quick, because in some parts of the comics, like the wizard, he does become an entity that's like he's up there with one of the most powerful beings of the DC universe, and they pretty much like overseers and stuff. So is he Does he seem like that here? Or does he seem like more of like he's under?
That would be a tad bit of a spoiler, but I'll just say in answer to that question, there's a potential he is that. There's a potential he is that. So that's the basic premise of the movie. Now, I'm going to come straight out and say, and also that Billy is dealing with some kind of issues. Now, the first movie was his journey of like accepting this family, and now he's accepted this family, and it's like this is his only family he's ever had, and he's finding it hard to kind of let them go, and to not let them go in the sense of, but to let them be themselves, essentially.
Right.
And one of my concerns about the movie going in, which was kind of, it kind of did happen, but it didn't happen at the same time, was that I didn't think they were going to use the Shazam family enough.
Yeah, I was hearing that this right here from reviews that the adults was utilized a lot more in the film than the kids.
Right, I was worried about that, and I'm glad to say that didn't happen. But at the same time, I feel like they could have been used like 10% more. But the good thing about this movie is it's a Shazam movie. It's like it's a Billy Batson movie, like really. More than even Freddie Freeman, because when I was looking at the marketing, I was like, oh, this is really seems like it's just a Billy and Freddie, but no, this is a Shazam movie, and it's a Shazam movie about his journey, but the supporting characters play a cool role in the movie.
I think they was doing that in the marketing to highlight, because Freddie is another fan favorite character from this franchise. I think they was just doing that, trying to give Freddie.
But Mary Marvel is as well.
Well, we know why.
So no, Mary Marvel has been an OG from back in the day.
No, I'm talking about. I'm talking about specifically for this movie, but you know why?
Yeah. I get it. She's hot. She's hot. But look, here's what I'm going to say about this movie, and I do have some problems. I have some major problems. I'm always going to shoot from the hip. I'm never going to just be DC biased or whatever, right? I like the movie a lot. Part of why I like the movie a lot is because I've read the comics. And reading the comics, I know how much this kind of it kind of delivers on bringing the source material to life, and that might not be for everyone. I'm going to tell the truth. That might not be for everyone, but if you have that kind of innocent appreciation of those comics you first read when you were like a kid, at those comics that were like a little bit childish, that got you into comic books in the first place, then you'll have an appreciation for this. If you have an appreciation for the style of movie, like something like Spider-Man 1 and 2, and even 3 were, then you will have an appreciation for this movie. It's a bit gee golly, a bit has that
well, real quick, you said Spider-Man 1 and 2, because Spider-Man 1 and 2, I think, is how MCU films are a lot like Spider-Man 1 and 2 as far as tone, but Spider-Man 1 and 2 does have the best balance of that type of film, of being campy and serious when it's right. There's Shazam 2 kind of hitting that, like when it does get to the heartfelt moments, or when it's time to take it serious, does it do it?
I can't look without spoiling. The heartfelt moments for me hit so much, and I can't separate whether that's because I've read the comics or not. But I'll say the heartfelt moments, and also the exploration of the more magical elements, the more whimsical elements of Shazam, which I was shocked my jaw was on the ground with some of the stuff that they introduced into this movie, which I thought, oh man, he's going to be too scared to introduce that kind of stuff. That's too wacky. That's too whimsical, right? And he straight up does it. And it's kind of like that Spider-Man movie in that way, you know, like where you've got Spider-Man wrestling Macho Man, right, in that wrestling ring, and it's like that's so fucking wacky, off the wall, but I fucking love it because that's exactly what would happen in a comic, right? So in that sense, I love that aspect of the movie. Now, where do I have a problem with this movie and where do I think it fails? I'll say this on two levels: not utilizing the Shazamly as much as they should, even though they did have really fantastic moments. I think they could have used them more, a little bit. And
I kind of expected that, because if you want to give, well, okay, so let me ask this, because in the first movie, they were still obviously green to their powers. Now in this film, generally they all have the same abilities, generally, right. Or do they make it to where they only use like a percentage of Billy's abilities?
They have the same thereabout abilities, but like, you know, emphasis on certain abilities for each one, basically, if you want to put it that way. Just like the first one. That's not really a spoiler. It's like the first one, basically. Now, here's the issue I have with this movie. This has a great second and third act. And depending on your tolerance of the first act, that's going to be whether you give this a negative or a positive, whether you give it a break or you don't. Because essentially what this movie went from is Superman 3, right, in the first act, with a heavy slathering of terrible Marvel jokes, MCU jokes, not Marvel jokes, to straight up Superman 1 and 2 by the end of it. By the end of this movie, like from the second act to the third act, it completely just transformed into this great Superman 1 and 2, Spider-Man 1 and 2 homage, essentially. You know, with the Shazam family, you know, it was like it went from Amazing Spider-Man 2 to Spider-Man 1 and 2, or Superman 3, not Superman 4. It didn't ever get that bad. It didn't get, it wasn't like Wonder Woman 84 or anything like that, but it straight up, I was like almost.
So it's going to have
in the beginning,
really weak start, but by the end of it, it's going to end on a great note.
Yeah. In the beginning, I was kind of groaning and I was like, oh my God, I felt bad. I almost wanted to turn around to the guys I got the tickets for and say, like, oh, I'm sorry, like, you know. But then, you know, it ramps up and it just gets more and more fun and enjoyable and wacky. And, you know, they go in all to the like, they go into the, if you know the Shazam comics, they go into the kind of wacky elements of his mythology, and I fucking loved it. You know, so that's essentially my synopsis of this, and that's why I'd say the first movie, in terms of from beginning to end, is better, but in terms of the whole movie, I prefer the second and third act of this movie to the second and third act of Shazam 1. You know, and
real quick, Nerdman,
the villains as well, I thought were used really well. And of course, you know, like you've got Helen Mirren, you've got Lucy Liu chewing up the scenery beautifully, like really, really well. And they were sinister, and there are some horror elements in this as well, you know. So that's why I say like Spider-Man 1 and 2, because of that Raimi horror element. He brought in his horror background as well to this. So It was really nice.
So would you so since you do like the villains to an extent, would you have preferred they still like used a comic villain, or would you say you appreciate them doing something original and it actually being good more than pulling straight from the source material? Because remember in Superman 4, they did Nuclear, whoever that dude was, but he was never a comic
Here's
character.
the thing: they pulled so much from the source material and everything else that I didn't even mind that these villains were made up for the movie. They felt like they were Shazam villains. They were like
Yep.
Shazam villains from the comics. Like this is what they'd come up with, some wacky, mystical magic kind of stuff. And, you know, they'd have to go on some like magical journey with the whole family. And, you know, I loved like elements of this where I don't want to give anything away, but like where, you know, you got to utilize both sides of these personalities, which is like them with their powers and them without their powers. And I actually like some of them were better as the adults, and then some of them were better as the kids, which is weird.
How was
Right?
how was Darla?
How was our girl Darla Dudley? Darla Dudley smashed it. In the beginning, she started off rough. When they were doing all that MCU humor bullshit, she started off rough. I'm not gonna lie. I was straight up like, oh man, Ashley might be right about this chick, you know. But then when she got into it, by the end, I
I
was
mean,
like,
she was hating on our girl Darla anyway.
Darla. I was like,
Shouts out Darla. Shouts out Darla.
I was like, shouts out Darla. Shouts out Darla's still a sweetheart, and you know, she gets you every time, like with her, with just how, you know, good a person is. And I enjoyed with Darla, funnily enough, I enjoyed the younger version of her more than the superpowered version of her, which is weird. Because in the first movie it was balanced, but in this one, overwhelmingly, the younger version was just she was fantastic. I thought she really did well. Like she had like a couple of rough scenes. I'm not gonna lie in the beginning, but I think they all had rough scenes. I don't know what it was. It's like maybe you know they hadn't acted against Helen Mirren yet in the beginning, you know, and they were just like just doing their normal kind of stuff. And then as soon as Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu, like you know, started their scenes, you know, like properly, like interacting with them, all of them just put it up a notch. And there were some touching moments, even equal to the first one, in my opinion.
Well, let me ask this: as people are probably going to wonder, Eugene and Pedro. Eugene, for everyone in chat, was the little Asian boy from Shazam 1, and Pedro is the big chubby Hispanic dude. How was they in the movie? Because if you notice in Shazam 1, they rarely got highlighted. It was really Darla, Freddie, Darla, Freddie, Mary, and Billy that got the highlight in the first movie.
I'll answer your question, and then we can discuss each of the main cast in a row. So, in terms of Eugene, who's one of my favorite characters from the show, he's one of my favorites in the sense of I've always seen his potential. They haven't quite got there yet with him like they have with Darla and Freddie, but I've always seen his potential as being really a really cool character. So it was the complete opposite. So him as the older character, the older Shazam, was fantastic. Him as the younger one, he was all right. It didn't quite work as well in this movie. And I think part of the problem there, quite honestly, is not even his fault. It's the fact he's just got older, you know, and some of the charm of seeing him so little, you know, is lost. Do you know what I'm saying? He's like a tall motherfucker. face. Like I looked at him, I was like, whoa, shit, you've grown, bro. You know what I'm saying? So he isn't that little goofy kid into games anymore. And I liked him in the first movie. I thought he pulled off all his lines really well. And, you know, I just wish there was more of him in the first movie. This one, again, you know, the problem was he's just older, you know, and that's part of the issue of just growing up. But like his Shazam version of him, the powered version, had a lot to do. And what he did was good, really good, I think. Yeah, he added. I love one of my favorite things about the movie is the dynamic between the Shazam family, which I thought, oh, maybe they're going to ignore that or something like that. They actually went into each of them, how they relate to Billy. You know what I'm saying, and how they relate to each other. And the first couple of scenes, I'd say the first 20 minutes was rough with them. But as soon as they relaxed into it, and they got to really, you got to really see them in the more comic booky elements of Shazam. Yeah, they worked fantastically. They were really good. And as for Pedro's the same as the first movie, man. They need to do something with that guy.
Well, okay, so
you know, there's some revelations about him, obviously, but that's
okay,
that's
yeah.
it.
So that's what I was gonna ask. Because in an article, and if you go back and watch the first movie, they hint at him being homosexual. You know, they hint at him being homosexual. Do they even explore that, or is it like? Is it
Look, dude, I'm gonna go into that in the spoiler review.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I'm not trying to say it's bad if they do or not. I'm just saying because they did mention it in an article. The actor, the older actor who plays Pedro, that brought it up, and I don't want them to mention it and not really not follow up on it. Or
I mean, they follow up on it. I'll say that much, but I just don't think he's not a fleshed out character. And to be honest, if you're going to give that kind of revelation, you should really flesh that out and like have it mean something, have some substance. And you know, like every single one of them, Mary was improved a lot. You know, I actually felt some of like Mary's journey and who she is. Definitely Freddie, you know, two white boys, they gave them a lot of screen time. And I'll tell you one thing that really shocked me in this movie, and it's one of my criticisms. Jack Dylan Grazer, until the end, was annoying the fuck out of me.
Was he doing too much of the first movie? He was like the geeking out.
Yeah, it was like that. And here's the thing with the MCU humor, right? So part of it isn't his fault. Again, I'm going to give some excuses. And so this is where I'm going to say, like, I'm a little bit biased. I'm not going to lie. I'm a huge Shazam fan. He's my 5th favorite superhero. So seeing that world explored in cinema is inherently going to have some appeal to me. You know, that if you're not invested in that way, maybe it won't. But, you know, it was good to see that another person who was independent from me, which was the guy who just, you know, I got the ticket or whatever, and he didn't know if it was me or not. He seemed moved by the whole movie as well, and the foster. That's one thing I need to say. One of the strengths is that foster family story, man. That always it hits, and it hits well. The way they deal with the whole foster situation, and as I said, Billy's journey of like you know, which wasn't handled very well in the beginning, but then you start to see once that arc is resolving itself what they're getting at, and Billy's inability to You know, like he's like the opposite of what he was in the first one. Now he loves these people so much that it's hard for him to not, he's super attached to them. And he wants to, you know, like the, you know, and they've got their whole little secret society thing going on with their superhero shit. And he really wants to, he doesn't do it on purpose, but he it feels like he's kind of dictating their lives a bit, you know, because he wants them to be close. And I think that's the most powerful part of the movie, because it completely makes sense to that character, that's how he would evolve. And that happens from the beginning of the movie. So it's not a spoiler, but like,
well, let me ask this, because they said this in an interview. Well, David F. Sandberg said that Mary Marvel, since is the oldest of all of them, she kind of takes on a leadership role. Is that completely true, or is it kind of Billy? And
it's half true. It's half true. I mean, yeah. Carry on the question.
Like, or is it Billy and Mary share the leadership role since they are the oldest? They share it, or is it more of like, okay, when Billy's not around, she just like kind of like how Storm will take over if, you know, Cyclops ain't around, or if it's kind of like that. Like, how is the leadership?
No, you know, there's an as within the Shazam storyline, like especially in New 52, you know, he's a boy and he doesn't always, he's not always the best at being a leader, even though he has to take on that role because it's been thrust on him in some ways. But you know, he if he seeks anybody's advice in terms of like that element of things, it's Mary, you know. And again, I think they could have done a touch more. This is my only criticism, a touch more to just give these characters a little bit equal footing, take a little bit less screen time off of Freddy and give them a little bit more, because everything they're given, you know, towards the middle and the end, they smash it. And she smashes it in the role of like, yeah, like, you know, the kind of what do you call it, Wendy, you know, of the Peter Pan crew. Right, like Wendy's kind of like, even though Peter Pan is like the leader kind of thing, but then Wendy is kind of like the, you know, the maternal kind of figure there. And yeah, she really does good in that role. So yeah, I think that's true, but I think they could have gone a little bit further with it and really established her a little bit more. That's all.
Another technical question: how was the score of the movie? How did you feel the music? How did it line up a lot of scenes? Or
the music's good. The music's good. It could have been better, but
was it a highlight like the Batman or the Joker's? You know, because those was big. The score was a big highlight. The scores like really made those movies.
I think the score is good for Shazam. It's good. It could be better. It could be great for Shazam. You could have like a Shazam theme that's just as iconic as the Batman theme. I don't think it's as iconic, but I think it's really good.
Wait, did you hear when they released the Shazam thing? Did you listen to it?
Yeah, it works well in the film. That's what I'm saying. Again, I don't want to give away too much. So the things that really work for me, as I said, is the foster families element and how that goes in the journey of all of these characters. I think the Daughters of Atlas really worked well. Lucy Liu and Helen Mirren kill it, and even from the jump when they start the movie, you know, and I'm thinking like the movie before they have their first scene, which is you know, quite early on. I was thinking, oh man, this is a little bit goofy for me. And as soon as they enter into it, they just add that serious, inject it with that serious element and that horror element. And it's just like, yeah, this is cool. You know, I just wish that DC really had the confidence to not try and ape Marvel, because when they're trying to do that, as opposed to just let the humor come from the fact that these are kids who are superheroes, when they're trying to actually give them jokes, do you know what I mean? Like little zingers or whatever. That's where the movie kind of loses me a little. But I'm glad to say that he stops doing that as much, almost 30% into the movie.
Because okay, never mind. Because there's some of my issues with Shazam 1 slightly. Was I did like Zachary Levi, but he's not a kid. But he was trying too hard to be. Is it that like with the comedy they're doing, they're having them try hard kids. They're not acting like kids. They're trying hard to do so.
In the beginning, really, I was just like, this is rough. And I wasn't sure I was going to end up liking the movie, because I was just like, this is too forced humor. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was a lot of forced humor in the beginning, where they're like, oh, because they're kids, they do this. And it's like, they did it more natural in the first one. You know what I'm saying? And you're right. If there was anyone who was doing it a little bit unnaturally in the first one, it was Zachary Levi. And they amped that up, to 11 in the beginning of this movie. And it was only when they just stopped doing that, and he was taking the situation a little bit more serious, that he became a really endearing character. And I really, I felt for him, like through this movie. As the movie kind of progressed, I was like getting more and more like feeling for him as a character, as Shazam.
Never mind. I had a thought about this, and it doesn't take away how I felt about Billy as a kid in the first movie, well, as an adult kid, right? In the Shazam body. I think another, and I think it's a generational thing, because like how Billy was acting in Shazam 1 as in the Shazam, suit, and as an older Billy. He was acting like the kids of like Fortnite, Vine, and stuff, and all that. I grew up with that stuff, but I was like born before a lot of it, and I think I'm just like kind of out of touch with the current way kids are growing up now compared to when I was. And same thing for you, because you didn't grow up like me. You grew up, we all grew up different as children, because the generations, era changes and stuff.
Back in 1 second. Sorry, just 1 second. I apologize.
But I think that might be the disconnect with people accepting these characters acting like children and stuff, like when they're adults and stuff, because they're acting like kids of the generation, not really kids of when we was kids. Because every generation of children grew up different, and people try to take their experience of how they grew up and put it on others, and it doesn't really mesh. But it does not take away the fact that Zachary Levi in the first movie was still trying too hard to be like a kid and not just be a kid, because it was coming off as like he almost felt like one of those kids from like the 1950s. He felt like a little rascal. He almost felt like a little rascal type of character. That's what he put me. That's what he's exactly like in Shazam will put like a little rascal character. The little rascal is not bad. That's God tier television. All right.
Yeah.
But he felt like a little rascal, because I don't talk like Spanky. I didn't grow up like Spanky, but they had a very 1950s type of 1950s dialogue.
I think a little bit of that was a homage to the comics and whatever, and I like that. Like for the most
right, and I think that's what I think that's what it was, because the comics came out like literally.
But did you notice in the first movie he wasn't trying to make the jokes? It wasn't like Iron Man or Drax, right? From what's it called? from Guardians of the Galaxy. Whereas I feel like this one has Guardians of the Galaxy style jokes in the beginning, where it's like he's trying to
trying
be
to do a bit.
funny.
Right, he's literally trying to do a bit. Like
right,
and like a freaking, an SNL skit.
Yeah, whereas the first one was just like, oh, it's just funny because he's a child and he's doing like, hey, what would a child do if he's got an adult's body? He's gonna go and try and get some beers, right? You know what I'm saying? And he's gonna find that beer's disgusting because the first time I drank, I found it fucking disgusting.
Right.
You know, like you don't.
I still think most beer is nasty till this day.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know what I mean? So it was that kind of stuff that was just like it made sense to the character. Whereas I think there's stuff in this doesn't necessarily, like in the beginning, and I want to emphasize this, in the beginning, that feels like that, and it gets a lot better as the time goes on, and the situation becomes more serious, and he therefore becomes more serious. So yeah, it's kind of like the trailer in a way. Like I remember reacting to the trailer and thinking, I don't like the first half of this trailer, but I really like the second half of this trailer when it stopped being like all the jokey stuff. And that's
a question.
And don't get me wrong, you could do that jokey stuff, but you have to make the jokes work and land. And if they don't land, then you're going to have a bit of an issue. So that's why I'm sympathetic to some of the reviews that I'm seeing. But overall, I think this is a really good movie. But it just needed another rewrite of that the first act.
Question, and this was one of my first issues from Shazam 1 because I thought it was it was one of the weakest parts of the first movie. The action. Does the action like really step up? Like,
yes, yeah, the action's good. I think the action is good, and it's in line. It's still in line with Shazam. You know, he's not some badass. You know, like
he's not no martial artist and shit.
You know, martial art is doing all these like, you know, he's like, you know, he's up against it. It feels like he's in danger, and he's, you know, and they're in danger.
Does it feel like watching, not say Man of Steel action, but like watching Superman, you know, just go head up with some bad guys type of? Because Superman ain't no martial artist either, but you know, there's some impact when Superman is in combat.
Yeah, no, I know. I think it's no, I wouldn't say it's like Superman. I'd say it's like Shazam, and that's a good thing. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't want it to be like Superman. It's like how Shazam should be action-wise, but like the spectacle of it is great. You know, because you've got Lucy Liu and, you know, and Helen Mirren being badasses. So and the visualization of some of their powers and stuff like that is really cool. So I don't think there's a problem there. The only problem I have is like, I think the CGI budget could have been a little bit better, and it kind of shows sometimes with the CGI. So it depends on how you feel about that. Like, are you like one of those super critical people on, you know, like when there's moments of bad CGI, or are you one of those people who can just be like, oh, the story's really good, so I can forgive it? Like, you know, a little bit of rough CGI every once in a while.
For the three villains, Rachel Zegler, Helen Mirren, and Lucy Liu, who was your favorite of the three? Like, who really led the charge? Like, who do you just stood out the most? They're the most badass. They are the embodiment of death.
Oh, that's a good question. I think they all did really well. They all have very different parts. That's the thing. So it's hard to kind of categorize like that. I'll say this: they're one of my favorite DC villains in terms of these DC movies recently. I think they stand out as very effective villains for the story that's being told. And they all have different kind of roles to play. So Helen Mirren's really badass at being what she's badass at being. Lucy Liu, if you know Lucy Liu and you're a fan of her kind of shtick and of just being a cold bitch, you know what I'm saying? Then I think you'll enjoy, you know, what she does here. And you know, Helen Mirren is a very different type of actress to Lucy Liu. Like Helen Mirren's like the Shakespearean, you know, like proper, you know, actor's actress, and Lucy Liu's more like, you know, she's very good at being Lucy Liu, and she's very charismatic at being Lucy Liu. And so I think if anything, I'll say those two stood out more than Rachel Ziegler stood out, but Rachel Ziegler was also good. But
yeah, that's why
completely different type of roles. Lucy Liu being Lucy Liu, whereas you know, Helen Mirren was doing the acting, the actor's acting.
And that's what I expected with, especially Rachel, since she is, you know, compared to Helen and Lucy, she's still green to the acting world. I kind of expect her to not have as much priority, but if you're saying she's still good,
she's still good. She's still good, apart from the first act. The Lucy Liu and Helen Mirren are good throughout, whereas Rachel gets good in the second and third act, in my opinion. Now, you might love her in all three acts. You might love all of them in all three acts. But, you know, I've got a very low tolerance for certain types of humor. And, you know, maybe people seem to have more tolerance for that type of humor than I do. So hopefully it works for them, but it didn't work for me.
So they what else did I want to ask?
Should I go through the actors and what like how I think they did generally before giving my score?
Yeah, break down.
Yeah. So I'll share my screen here. So Zachary Levi, I wouldn't mind him recast. I'm not gonna lie. I wouldn't mind him recast, and it's not because he was terrible in the movie or he was even bad in the movie. I thought he was good, but I think they could do with a fresh look with the Shazam franchise, just to go with the new DCU direction. It would be unfortunate because it would mean some of the characters that I really do like what they did would also have to be recast. But you know, that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. I think some of them are getting too old and all of that kind of stuff, which also affects my opinion. That being said, what happened throughout the movie, it moved me in a similar way to the first movie. And that couldn't have happened without Zachary Levi's performance. So that's what I'm going to say about that. Grace, who was playing Mary Marvel, was very good. She did her thing. She needed a little bit more time, you know, in the film, but I thought she did very well. Asher Angel, okay, he was all right in the movie. It wasn't bad. And again, some of the scenes he was in were kind of moving, and I think he did well when asked to deliver. Have you got anything to say about what I've just said about those three, or do you want me to continue?
I don't disagree with you on possibly wanting Zachary Levi to even be recast it, because I don't dislike him, but we could like the guy who played Hawk. I think he would be a better look at what Shazam would be. But could could that actor play a good kid though? That's the thing.
I'm sure he could.
Because Zachary Levi, to me, I'm not saying he's not a handsome dude and he doesn't have the look. He's fit, he's in shape. But I think go with a more macho look for him. And with Superman, you want that kind of like macho, that macho man look.
Like kind of a little bit more beefy and whatever. But apart from the look, I'm just talking about that whole kind of personality thing. I think there's a little bit where I can deal with him, but I worry that he can be like, there's a thing in England, I'm sure you've never tasted it before, called Marmite. And it's a spread that you put on bread. And even in the adverts, they acknowledge that you either love it or you hate it. You know what I'm saying? And I think his performance as Shazam is like one of those things. It's like, I could see people having a problem with it. It's in this movie, less in the last movie, but in this movie. And it just depends on, are they tolerant enough to be able to say, well, yeah, he didn't stick the landing in the beginning, but towards the end, he really, really started to work. It depends on that. And he's just not the definitive Shazam in any kind of level, like, to me. As you say, Nerdman pulled a Pee Wee Herman and got caught spanking his hot dog in the theater when the final battle happened. Okay, yeah, fair enough. Rachel Ziegler, very good in the movie, and yeah, she's a good actress, and I hope she does well. She did well in this movie. Jack Dylan Grazer, I had a problem with this bro in this movie. It's sad to say, because he was one of my favorite parts of the first movie, but I'm sad to say it just was a little bit overboard with the fast talking and everything. It didn't quite work for me. Yeah, it's a pity. I don't know what else to say. It's minor because his story is interesting enough, and by the time he gets to, again, the second the third act, I think what they do with his story really helps a lot. So, and the fact that they sway away from the jokey stuff and go more into, like, you know, him dealing with the situation at hand. Michelle Booth, who I believe is the mother, was good. Lucy Liu was excellent. Really, I think stood out for me as one of the best in the cast. Absolutely standout performer. Megan Good, my baby Megan Good. I didn't hate her in the movie. Was certainly a nice spice within the movie, but honestly, I think she could have done better. I really do. From seeing her in that first movie, I think something didn't work as well in this movie as in that last movie, and I wish she could be given another chance to do it. But like, I want the whole cast recast. But you know, if they're staying on, I think she could develop a little bit more and be better. So I don't know what else to say about her. Whereas Faith Harmon, the kid, did really, really well, and it's shocking to me. I thought she was excellent towards, you know, when she had, because towards the beginning, you know, there was all the stuff of like just trying to set up the pieces of the story and the relationships and stuff. But once it got into it, I thought Faith Harmon did really, really well. As did Adrian Brody. Standard, he was being Adrian Brody, charming as hell. It worked. And Ross Butler, the same. It worked. Ian Chen, the Asian boy, I don't even think he got the opportunity to really, be good or bad. I thought he was fine in the scenes he was in, but like I wish he had more. But his alter ego did really well in the movie. And yeah, do you want to say anything about the people I've said so far, or should I just finish off my thoughts? You're on mute. So it says, "What's up, fellas? Love you and your content, nerd man. I'm hearing good things about this film. Does my baby Wonder Woman get an action sequence?" I can't tell you that, man. That's a spoiler. I'll do that in the spoiler review. I'm sorry, I can't say that. Was the movie bad, nerd man? The trailers look terrible. Like really long extended CGI orgy. It was not a long extended CGI orgy, I can tell you that much. And I think it was good. Yeah, I think it was, as I said, it gave me Spider-Man 1 vibes more than Spider-Man 2. It gave me Spider-Man 1 vibes, and it gave me Superman 1 and 2 vibes towards the end. Unfortunately, in the beginning, it gave me Superman 3 vibes, but it got better to the point it was like Spider-Man 1 or Superman 1, in a good way, like a modern version of that. Nerd man, you hear about Zach's tweeting today? Yeah, we talked about that, and I just think it's ridiculous. I'm a fan of Zack Snyder's Justice League. I think it was a great movie, but what is he doing? Unless he's, for some reason, Zaslav has actually given him, like, so that he's actually making Justice League 1 or 2 or 3, pardon me. There's no reason to put out the tweet he put or the thing that he did. Yeah. So I went through Megan Good. I don't know if you heard what I said about Megan Good. It broke my heart to say it, but I want to watch the film again. I thought she still had a little bit of charm to her, but not as much charm as she had in the first one.
Well, as an adult, did she get even really that much highlight? Because you said Darla didn't get as much highlight as adult Darla, but did adult
the younger Darla got the better scenes, and she nailed it. She really did. She was really good. So. Should have rebooted this whole universe, starting with the Batman instead. James Gunn, the mind behind 2 good movies in a 20-year career, will reboot the universe. I know, right?
Our hero.
But he's done so. He's said some good things recently. So
hey, he wrote Zack Snyder's best movie.
I'm open to him. No, he did not. No, he did not.
No, it did.
No, Dawn of the Dead is one of his good movies, but Watchmen is better than Dawn of the Dead. Even if you're trying to
agree.
Even if you're trying to shit on his DCU stuff, come on, bro. Let's not be silly here. All right.
Brightburn's better than Man of Steel too, and I didn't even see Brightburn.
Brightburn is not better than Man of Steel. It's just as bad as Man of Steel. It really is just as terrible. Stupid idea for a movie. Helen Mirren, MVP of this movie. Fantastic. Added gravitas to everything she did.
When you get to them, I forgot to ask, but I definitely hear your opinion on the parents.
I'm gonna I'm gonna get to them right now. So yeah, Helen Mirren really did her thing, just like Lucy Liu. They were the MVPs of this movie. Really, really good, and it's good to have that for the villains. On a positive note, I will never watch an MCU film again. No man kept that promise after Moon Knight. Very good. All right. So then you get the parents. So I guess her name is the comic character is Rose Vasquez, and the actress is Marla Milans. They didn't get much to do, but they were good. They were good, and one of the scenes that was particularly impactful involved her, so she was good. DJ Katran, a non-entity, non-event in this movie. Same with his alter ego, the boy who I don't know even I don't even think they show him here. He's so unimportant. Pedro Pena, and I'm upset about that because I wanted all of those characters to get more development, and it seemed like they focused more on Eugene as an adult, Darla as a kid, and then they focused on Adam and superhero Freddy and Freddie Freeman, basically. So it was those three that got the most development out of the Shazam family. And, also Mary got some good scenes as well. But the three of them got the most development. And yeah, each one of them was good in at least one half of their character, basically. And the good thing is the half of their character that was the good part was the one that got the most screen time. So, in that sense, like, I guess I can deal with it,
Yeah.
But the last one, the father, was really a non-entity. Again, he had some nice moments, whatever. And also Shazam, the wizard, Shazam. I think, I'm going to butcher his name, but Dijon Hanzu was good.
I think it's Jamon. I think the Dijon. I don't know.
He was good, and he was surprisingly funny, actually. So,
is he like? Because we saw in the trailer he is captured for a moment. Is he throughout the movie enough, or does he kind of like pop up like first act and then third act and like the middle act he's kind of gone?
No, he's got a good chunk in this movie. He's really has. So yeah, he was good, really good. I liked him, and he actually helped one of the characters that I thought was like a little bit underperforming in the movie. He actually helped elevate him a little bit in the movie. So I appreciated that, because when he was doing scenes with him, it worked a lot better than when he was doing scenes with like the kids or something like that. That's Jack Dylan Grazer. It's not a spoiler, but like basically when he was doing scenes with the Shazam wizard, he worked better than when he was doing scenes with the Foster family, at least until the end. And I think that leaves only Gal Gadot, who was great. She turned up. She was great. I liked it, and I'll leave it at that, because everyone knows she's in the movie. But
all right, without spoiling, does he?
I'm not spoiling that.
Damn, you nervous? Shit.
I'm not spoiling that. I'm not gonna do that.
I need to know. Dang, I wanna.
But she was good. She's good. All
right, now let me ask this. And this is me bringing my DC bias. Better than Toby and Andrew cameo.
What do you mean? In Spider-Man No Way Home?
Yeah, they were cameo too.
Bro, you are some crazy question. No, it's not. I mean, it's better for me.
I'm not saying it's like as iconic, but as far as story purpose.
It's better for me, but I'm biased, so I can't really.
Yeah, that's why I said
I'm
I'm
like
bringing in my
straight
DC
up.
bias.
That's straight up bias. Like, yeah, because I like her more than Spider-Man. Basically, I like like Wonder Woman more than Spider-Man. So of course it's going to be like that for me. But no, it isn't better. It's not a better cameo than that. But then again, in a sense, it's better and worse because she had less ability to, like have cringy bad moments as Andrew and
Well,
Vic.
okay. So I have this question because when the Shazam family is out and about saving people, do they use like code names and stuff, or do they like does Billy straight up say Darla help? Like, do they got code names?
No, they don't. He doesn't do that. He's not like Man of Steel. But like, I'll just say this:
Because I know they call him like Supergirl, Darla, Supergirl
they
Betty.
play into some of the things from the first movie that are kind of unanswered. And there's a really, really cool moment, a really ballsy fuck you moment that to Marvel Comics that I think people will appreciate.
I think I know what you're talking about. There's there's MC fans on Twitter going like, "Oh my god, why?" I'm like, well, it's comics.
No, just like it was
I think I know.
there's a big in joke that is at the expense of Marvel Comics. Not like a diss, not like, oh, they're trash or anything like that, but just an in joke regarding what you just discussed now, like what are we called and what's our names and all of that kind of stuff.
Well,
yeah. So that's really me. I mean, I haven't got like that much more to say about the movie as a non-spoiler.
Well, without spoiling, do they acknowledge and explain why Grace Fulton is finally adult? Her is just being her for her adult self, or do they like just gloss over it? Because if you see that,
oh yeah, they
you see that scroll, you already got it up. Look at the.
They don't mention it. They don't mention it.
Got
I know what you're talking about, like the fact that she's not, got the older self in there.
Because the girl right there, Michelle Borth, played her in the first movie, played her adult version.
Yeah, they don't talk about it, but whatever.
Would you have preferred if they kept them separate, or do you think? I mean, this makes sense.
I think she does well, the girl. I think, and Mary Marvel has always been like that, where she kind of like is her older self already. So
yeah,
I think it kind of worked. I feel sorry for the other woman that she didn't get to play her, because I don't think she was bad in the last movie. I don't think she really had a chance to be bad though. So I would have liked to see what she would have done, but the girl Grace did a good job. With Wonder Woman being there, she should have helped the Shazam family, right? Well, you'll have to go and see the movie to find out, bro. Go and watch the movie.
You guys, I have not seen the movie. I don't know any spoilers. Wonder Woman about to throw some hands in this movie. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm that's what I'm guessing. That's what I'm believing. She about to throw some hands. And Nerdman don't want to say that shit. He's trying to keep shit to himself. Man, these see,
I'm saying nothing. Mum's the word.
DC fans that don't give other DC fans the spoilers when we need them, man. We need
go on, like, I'll say this about this movie. I'm gonna give it a grade before I talk about how I rank it with the other DC movies. I would give this movie, as a Shazam fan, I'll give this movie a B+. As a critic, I would give it a B. I was thoroughly entertained by this movie. By the end of it, I was actually a little bit moved. I really liked what they had going. It's not an A movie. It's not I don't the greatest of all time. It's not even like I'm saying it's not or it isn't. It's just I don't think it needs to be in that kind of conversation for you to enjoy it, but it could slip into one a really great comic book movie. You could slip it in there. So it what am I trying to say on this? My point is this, that as a Shazam fan, it's hard for me to like completely separate because I saw so much stuff from the comics that I never thought I would see. So I think if you're a fan of this character and you love DC mythology, that you should go and watch this movie and give it a chance, because at the very least, they've put so much stuff into this that you will love from the comics. If you enjoy that stuff and notice from the comics that it's worth it just for that alone. But if I'm being completely critical as a film critic and as somebody who watches movies and stuff like that, then I'm gonna have to give it, like as I said, a B score, a mid B score, right? Like, so if you're gonna get a B on your test, it's not like the almost A, it's more like middle B. That being said, I'm gonna say where I place it in terms of, I'm not gonna go through all the DC movies, but I'm gonna say where, well, I could do. So I'll start with the bottom. My least favorite DC movie as of today is Wonder Woman 1984. Right? I think that's pretty much a travesty. I don't understand why that film exists. And then after that, it's Joss Whedon's Justice League. I think it's a little bit more coherent than Wonder Woman 1984. So I have to give it points, even though I probably dislike it just as much. At least narratively, it makes more sense than Wonder Woman 1984. So that comes second to last. Following that, I would say Birds of Prey and Man of Steel and the Suicide Squad and even Aquaman are all on the same level for me. There's parts of them that are entertaining, and then there's parts of them I don't like. Maybe the Suicide Squad is a little bit ahead of those, but maybe not as well. I'm maybe just trying to be kind to K-Dots by saying that, but those four
Suicide Squad is dope, guys.
I then go Suicide Squad, which is my controversial pick. I like Suicide Squad. Yeah, I think there's parts of Aquaman that are tight, but like there's parts that like really aren't. So then I go Suicide Squad. Should I don't know if I can put this in an order. I was looking for some tier listing I could do. But
you just list it off. I think people would get it.
Yeah. But I don't want to miss any. So the Suicide Squad is the next for me.
Well, you just
so that would be my fourth up.
You're just doing DCEU movies, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Suicide Squad 2016. Right. I've then got because I had Birds of Prey, Man of Steel, the Suicide Squad, and what was the other one? Aquaman on kind of the same level. There, I find some enjoyment in them, but then I also have problems with them. Next up is Black Adam. Black Adam again. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I loved the Hawk Command and Captain. Dr. Fate stuff. I thought all of that was really, really cool. I liked the movie a lot. I just think I understand the problems people have with it as well. Coming up next after Black Adam is BVS. BVS I like a lot. I'm not going to be shy about it or whatever. I kind of like that movie, but I think it's horrific what they do to Superman in that movie as well. And I just can't get past that. What it does to Superman and even Batman to some extent with the killing, but certainly Superman is just, it's like cultural vandalism. I just can't, as much as I like some of the action sequences, as much as I like some of the intellectual aspects of it, as much as I like some of the cinematography, I'm just like, that's not Superman. Why do a Superman versus Batman movie without Superman even in it? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. So BVS, so this is about number 4, I would think, that we've got to. Oh, no, because I'm introducing the Batman and Joker as well. Sorry. So BVS is the next up. Then we have, after BVS, I think I've got all of the Zack Snyder ones. Then I think it's Shazam 1 and 2. I like them both equally. They're both as good as each other, honestly. I can't pick one. I'd say Shazam 1 from beginning to end is a slightly tighter, more well put together movie. But Shazam 2 goes balls to the wall with comic booky, gee whiz, whimsical stuff that I just love. And I never thought I'd see in any comic book movie. I thought it was great. And it really does have shades of Raimi comic book movies. Not as good, but it has those shades of them, and I like that. And that's the same with Shazam in a way. 1, it's like it's a little bit something different, and it could be up there as a kind of Raimi-esque movie, but it doesn't quite hit that standard. In terms of Raimi's comic book movies. Then we have Wonder Woman, fantastic movie, loved it. What did I think of Shazam 2, Arkham Unlimited? I thought it was really good. I just don't think rating, I'm giving it as a Shazam fan, I'm giving it a B+. As a movie critic, if I were pretending to be a movie critic, I'm giving it a B. And a mid B, not a, nearly a B. It's like a mid B. So yeah, I think it's really good, but it has some structural issues, and it has some copying MCU issues in the beginning of the movie, which gets better as it goes along. That's my answer. So Wonder Woman is my next movie. I really like that movie, but it has some flaws as well that are a little bit hard to get past. Lastly, the last 3 movies are The Joker, Batman, and Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'm going to say that I love all 3 of those movies equally, and I see them all as A movies, not A+, A movies. Each of them has their weaknesses. Some weaknesses that the other movie doesn't, that the other movie is slightly better than than the other ones. But yeah, The Joker, and Batman and Zack Snyder's
All right,
Justice League, I just think are like
man,
their
this
peak.
is the real question
was-
to really test
go.
it. You're on a desert island. You got an option of Joker, Batman, or Zack Snyder's Justice League. Which one you taking? Desert Island, you get one big ass TV, and you get an option of those 3 movies, but you only get one.
I'll choose between the Batman. Honestly, I'll choose between the Batman and Zack Snyder's Justice League. I don't know that I could choose between the two because I like that they're action movies in the end of the day, and I don't want to be on a desert island with the Joker to watch only. And that's nothing against the Joker.
Yeah, you're gonna go insane watch it.
Yeah, that's nothing against the Joker. It's just I don't want to do that to myself.
You're gonna end up talking to the TV and put in, finding something, put a smiley face on the TV, start talking to it.
Yeah, but at least the Batman has some hopeful elements, and it's it's got some action and stuff like that. So, but yeah, both of those movies, those are the 3 top, and just underneath is Wonder Woman, and just beneath that is Shazam and Shazam 2. So it's basically my 3rd to 4th favorite DC movie of the recent movies. That's how I'm ranking it for today. It might change tomorrow. I'm gonna go and see it again on Friday with my girlfriend and with a couple of mates of mine. But yeah, I think.
Did your friends pay for their tickets, or
just going? Yeah, they're paying. They're paying for their tickets. I'm not paying for them.
We need more. DC can use all the money.
Yeah, but I think just go in with, just wanting to have a blast. I understand why certain people don't like it. I do, but I also think if you want to go on the journey with this movie and just if you want to enjoy it, you'll enjoy it. If you're in there kind of like with a critical cap on, then you might find some it's not plot holes. It's not like there's plot holes in it or plot inconsistencies or character inconsistencies, nothing like that. I think you just might find that with a critical hat on, it's a movie that, because of that first bit of it, especially, you could just be like, oh, fuck this movie. You could be like, I don't care that it improves later on. Just the beginning of it is so, problematic that I can't get over it. You've got on mute.
I think this could truly determine what this film would mean. Will this film be good enough to make Jaded not hate it? He did like Shazam 1.
No.
You think he's gonna hate this one?
I think that guy hates everything. I don't know a movie that he likes. I don't.
He did like Shazam 1.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, he might do. I don't know. Who knows?
Ant-Man 1 and Ant-Man 2. Do you think he's gonna like this one?
I hope so. I hope for his. I hope everyone likes it. But like, I don't think Jaded likes things.
I mean, you're not wrong.
I just don't think he likes stuff. So I don't. No, I've not got high hopes he's gonna like it.
He likes
and and what I'm saying is, and this is something I want DC to understand, is like, you've got to give people less reasons to be critical of your movies. And this movie doesn't do that, and that pisses me off because it's so good towards the end, and the premise of the character journey is so good, and it works so well that I don't know why they didn't have the confidence to just tell that story straight rather than try and be like, oh, I've got to be really wacky and funny in the beginning, double down on the jokes in the first one. It's like you could have a lot of the stuff that wasn't necessarily meant to be a laugh out loud joke was actually the funniest stuff. Do you get what I mean? Like, it wasn't meant to be like, oh, there's the joke, there's the line. You know what I'm saying? A lot of that stuff was the least funny stuff, and a lot of the stuff that just came out of them just being sweet and kids and, you know, whatever, that was the stuff that was actually funnier and the most charming about the movie. Oh, so I'd give it a 7.4.
DC Dodge, thanks for the invite. Wednesday's gonna be tough for my new comic day. It's all good, Mike. I handled it. Got taken care of. But it's all good. You're always welcome to come on the Superman and Lois streams.
Yeah, I'm gonna catch up on Superman and Lois right now.
Nerdman, are you available next Saturday?
I could be.
Well, you know my new show I do on Saturdays, the SJ Chaos Chamber. I wanted to get you on as the guest for the Saturday after that. Well, after this Saturday.
Yeah, if you gave me on as a guest, yeah, I'll do it. I'll have to confirm it, but yeah.
There's gonna be a trivia for you too, so be on the lookout. How many questions you want? 10 or 15? Anzo got
15, and I want them on philosophy, Russian literature, and comic book movies.
I got you.
So
Russian
Russian literature and comic book movies. If you do it on those, then I might surprise you.
Well, make sure to throw in a lot of Socrates.
Stick to German if you really want to be impressed. So that's good to hear. Yeah, no, I think if you go in, as I said, with the intention to enjoy this movie, I think you can really, really enjoy it and enjoy a lot of the references it makes to DC lore and Shazam lore. But if you go in with you're hard headed, you're like, DC, I'm cynical about this whole franchise, and this movie doesn't even matter anyway. If you go in with that attitude, I don't know how you're going to think about this movie. It could land for you, it might not land for you. I don't know. I think at least as good as the first. It has more flaws than the first, but it has more positives than the first, if that makes sense. So there's more to dislike than the first, but there's a lot more to like than the first as well.
I haven't seen it yet, but I have a feeling, and I always said this, is going to be better than the first. Like, even
I hope you feel that. I hope you feel that.
You can see.
It's better than Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I'll tell you that much.
Oh,
that's not a high bar, but like it is better than that, and it's better than Black Adam, certainly.
I forgot to ask, since they did change the suits, which one did you prefer, Shazam 1 suit or these suits?
You know what? I don't know. Like, I'm gonna talk about it in the spoiler review a little bit more, but there's a real issue I had with the costume. Even though I thought it looked good, I was like, why did you do that with the costume? Is that from something?
I don't like the little silver. If you see accuracy, I don't like those silver, because I thought those was like, where they put like mocap, those dots on them when they did add like CG over it. I thought it was that, but when I started seeing more in the promotion, why they got the CG, stuff.
You hit the nail on the head. You hit the nail on the head. That's why I didn't like. I didn't
like the
get
rest
it.
of the suit to me looks good. Just take off them ugly silver little streaks, and the suits are even better.
Yeah, I didn't get it. And
Did they did
one other critique is like,
did those did
I
those
think
silver
they could
parts of
have
the
captured. I think they could have captured flying better. That's
God,
another like minor quibble. Sorry, go on.
it's a little detail, but did those silver parts of the suits like do anything when they powered up, or was it just still there?
No, it was just still there,
Got it.
and I didn't like it. I thought the suit looked good, and I didn't understand why they did that to the suit. Megan Good in the bikini. I wish, man. I wish, but she looked tight in the suit, though. She looked good in that suit. So did the other one. I was like, wow, okay, Shazam girl.
Do you but do you prefer, because they both had different suits, that Mary wears a skirt, Darla
I like
wears
Mary's suit better, but Darla like filled out the older Darla.
Yeah.
Yes, filled out the suit well. It's kind of like tricky talking about the Shazam family because like she's supposed to be a kid, but whatever. She's Megan Good. She looks like Megan Good. All right.
We know you're referring to Megan Good. When I make it clear, I say Megan Good. If I'm talking about Megan Good and Sue Good, I'm talking about Megan Good. I'm not talking about Darla. I'm talking about Megan.
Yeah, Darla's a sweetheart. Darla's a sweetheart though, man, and she has one of my favorite parts in the movie actually. But maybe that's because I'm perhaps the only Darla Mark in the world. I prefer her to Robin, honestly, as a sidekick. Look at the shock on his face. Look at the shock. I'm sorry, I do. I prefer Darla Dudley to Robin. I prefer the whole Shazam family to Robin, to be honest. Come at me, K-Dots.
What?
That I prefer the whole Shazam family to Robin. Come at me, bro.
I mean, I like both, so I can't really. Yeah. I mean, Robin is still the OG sidekick. Well, that's the thing. Okay, do you look at the Shazam, not Billy, but the family as like Billy's sidekicks or like equals on his level?
No, I see them as sidekicks. I see them as like Supergirl and whatever, but I see them as in the same way as
I look at Robin. To me, is that like he's not bad, but he's sidekick. He's second to Batman.
But in the same way as Green Lantern, Green Lantern is like has derivative characters from him, but they work better because of the nature of their derivativeness. It's like they're police cops, so okay, that makes sense. And this is a family of superheroes. That's the whole thing. He's adopted. He's in the foster family, and he gives his foster kid, brothers and sisters powers. That works for me. That isn't just like some, gimmick to bring in younger audiences or something like that. It's organic to the story, and it makes Shazam better, a more dynamic character. Whereas I don't know that Robin makes Batman more dynamic. I feel like you can do with or without him. Robin, there are certain stories, Red Hood. I'm looking at Red Hood. I'm looking at Dark Knight Returns, where I think Robin is fantastic in those stories, but they're very few and far between for me. I just most stuff with Robin, I'm just like, whatever. Just give me Batman. And it's the same with Superman and Supergirl. I'm like,
your hatred for
on balance, I could just deal with Superman. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't. Yeah.
I don't need Supergirl, but for Batman, I don't need Robin to be around, but he's a good element to have.
Yeah, sometimes
because
with the Red Hood,
you still want to see. Yes, Batman is a tall, brooding dude, but you still want to have something like a Robin around to still, show his humanity. Like those moments when Batman is like comforting kids and stuff, and like those are really good things to see from Bruce.
Do they explain why Mary is played by the same actress? No, they don't. And I don't think
I wish they did, because I already said this. An easy explanation, just say that when Mary got older, these versions that they are turning into, this is what they think a adult looks like to them. It may not exactly be them, but that's what they believe an adult is. And when they get older, then they're going to accept the role and just be themselves.
Yeah, I can see that. But I didn't think it needed explanation. I think she just did.
I'm just saying you could easily, but you can easily explain that though. Like if James Gunn does decide to keep Asher Angel, if he does get old enough to bulk up and really get big, you can just make him Shazam. He can just play Shazam.
But they did what I wanted them to do with them in this movie, except I think they could have gone it a little bit further, like 10% further, which is they really they explored them as the kids, like them as kids, and just being way over their head with anything that a superhero typically has to deal with. And that's the real charm of this movie. Is like there's one man, when I talk about the spoilers, there's one scene, man, where he says something like that a superhero should do, and then you see the next scene and they're just completely fucked it. And it's just it's fantastic. It's so Shazam, it's so Captain Marvel, that it was just it was great to see that. Because they're not typical superheroes.
Yeah.
That's the thing about them. They're just kids. But I can leave it at that, unless there's other questions anybody else wants to ask.
I didn't got the majority of the chunk of it.
Y'all watched Gotham Knights? I watched the first 5 minutes and I was like, nah,
the only way I'm gonna watch that, if I do watch it, it's gonna be for free. I'm not gonna review it like that. I might talk about it occasionally on streams, but that's
so CW, bro.
Yeah,
it's not even CW where the first episode is good. You know what I mean? Where they disguise it and then you find out halfway through season one that it's trash. They just were like, let's just make it trash from the beginning. So no, I don't like it. and the beginning of the Shazam movie, just to bring it full circle, that's what it felt like. It felt like a big budget CW shit, and I was like, and then it became an actual movie. It was somewhere between CW and MCU.
In the first 5 minutes, did they show Batman die, or did they not get to that in the first 5 minutes?
They show who Batman die.
Yeah.
Oh, the Gotham Knights. I don't know, man. I saw the first. Honestly, it was the first 10 minutes, and there's no way that show's good. Just just from the first 10 minutes, it was unbearable.
Well, hopefully, it doesn't get a second season. See, I don't understand why David Zaslav.
Some people like that CW shit.
Yeah. Well, some of it is good, but I don't understand why David Zaslav did not mark that as a tax write-off. That's the thing. Okay, so if Batgirl was supposedly going to hurt DC's reputation, how does Gotham Knights help DC's reputation?
Yeah.
Why didn't you get rid of that? That should be a tax write-off too. But whatever. I mean, Black Adam, real quick, Black Adam wasn't. I don't think it was bad, but supposedly David Zaslav thought that helped DC's reputation. But
I don't think it was bad. I think it could have.
Yeah, I don't think it was bad.
I think if it had come out in the right time, I think people would have been more receptive to it. But in general, I think the problem was the approach. It was you've got to connect this to Shazam. Stop with all this Superman bullshit. And even the stuff that I like, which was Justice Society, it's you're trying to make Black Adam bigger than he is. And the charm of Black Adam actually is his animosity towards, first of all, Shazam in the early, or Captain Marvel in the early comics, but certainly to these Goonies style foster kids. You know what I mean? It's like just this he would work, especially watching this movie, he would work so well with them having to handle something like that, you know, like, and the charm of them being so doubtful about themselves. Because as a kid, what do you know? You don't even know how to like walk home to your house, like in, you know, like when you're young enough, you know. And so they captured that in this movie, and to have them face something like Black Adam and somehow figure out a way to like deal with him would have been really cool to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the problem with the movie. It's like it just didn't connect enough to this Shazam universe, which it should have. And they still could have done that Superman tease while going, yeah, I know it'll be cool for us to have like some WWE battle between me and Superman, but like in the end of the day, I'm a Shazam villain. And he should have made that like very, very clear. And I'm not like some Justice League level,
Right.
you know. All right.
I mean, he could be, but he's not that.
Yeah, as another character he could be, but he shouldn't really be playing any other. The thing about him as Black Adam as well is the reason it worked for me as a casting, because I thought, well, clearly he's not going to do the Egyptian accent. He's not going to, you know, transform like that. But that would have worked within this Shazam franchise because it's so silly. You know, it's almost like, you know what I mean? It like would have kind of like a little bit made sense that like you just have this Black Adam character who's, you know, Egyptian all but in name. Or yeah. Yeah. So that's what I think of the movie, guys. I think you should go out. I think you should support it. I hope you guys enjoy some of the more fantastical elements of it, and the fact that it isn't shy to explore those fantastical elements. And I hope you can get past the first act. If you can, I think you can kind of sit back and like just let the second and third act just go with that story and enjoy it as a fan. I'm not sure what Big Brell agrees with, but I'm glad he agrees with me.
So should we leave on the Black Adam thing?
Yeah. Should we leave it at that?
Yes, sir. I'm about to
go. All right. We're about to head up out of here. Go watch it, enjoy it, and tell me what you think. I'd love to hear what you guys think. You know, am I capping because I'm a DC because I'm a Shazam fan specifically, or Captain Marvel fan specifically? Maybe my reading of the comics has kind of skewed my interpretation of it, but I actually think it's a really fun movie, and you'll leave feeling good. You know, like by the end of it, you'll actually leave feeling kind of like, oh, I feel good about myself a bit, or not good about myself, but you know what I mean, like that lighthearted, like. Yeah, like I just saw a comic book movie, like a really comic-y movie.
Right.
So I hope that's the people's takeaway when they finish it. All right. So yeah, guys, peace. Love you 3000. We out of here. Okay, Dots, you want to say anything before?
Marvel's trash as usual. Or MCU's trash as usual. MCU.
All right, on those wise words, peace. Love you 3000.
Doses.